Here we go. My people, give ear to my Torah. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I open my mouth in a parable. I utter riddles of old, which we have heard and known, for our fathers have related them to us. We do not hide them from their children, relating to the generation to come the praises of Yahuwah and his strength and his wonders, which he has done. For he raised a witness in Jacob and set a Torah in Israel, which is commanded our fathers. Oh, yeah, it says, which he commanded our fathers to teach them to their children, that it might be known to a generation to come, to children who would be born, to raise up and relate them to their children and place their trust in Eloah, and not forget the works of Eloah, but watch over his commands, and not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation which did not prepare its heart, whose ruach or spirit was not steadfast in to Eloah. The children of Ephraim, uh, armed bowmen, turned back in the day or the yom of battle. They did not guard the covenant of Eloah, and they refused to walk in his Torah, and they forget his deeds and his wonders which he had shown them. He did wonders in the sight of their fathers, and in the land of Egypt, Mitzrayim, in the field of Zion. He split the sea and caused them to pass through, and he made the Mayim, or the rivers, right, stand up like a heap, and led them with the cloud by Yom, or the day, and all the Layla, or the night, with the light of fire. He split the rock. He split the rocks in the wilderness and made them drink as from the great depths, and brought forth streams from the rock, and caused Mayim, or rivers, to come down as rivers, water to come down as rivers, like out of the sky, right? Like a water spout, right? Yet they sinned still more against him, to rebel against the Most High in the desert, and they tried Eloah in their hearts by asking food according to their desire. So they really weren't getting food to be having food, but they were doing it out of their own heart, right? And they spoke against Eloah. They, not, I shouldn't say that. I should say desires, like delis and cakes, right? Things that they had gotten in Egypt. And they spoke against Eloah. They said, is Eloah, which means love, joy, and peace, right? So that's just like Jesus, because it says love. It's love, right? Is Eloah able to set a table in the wilderness? Look, he struck the rock so that the Mayim rushed out, the waters rushed out, and the streams overflowed, Is he able to give bread also? Would he provide meat for his people? Therefore Yahuwah heard, and he was angered. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and displeasure also came up against Israel, because they did not believe in Eluah, neither did they trust in his deliverance. Yet he had commanded the clouds above and opened the doors of the Shemaim, and he rained down manna on them to eat, and he gave them the grain of the Shemaim. So he sent like barley or something, um, down from heaven. Men ate bread of the mighty and sent them provision. I get, so he ate the bread. They ate the bread of the angels. You see, of the mighty. He sent them provision to satisfaction. He made an east wind blow in the Shemaim, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He and he rained meat on them like the dust, and winged birds like the sand of the Yomim, and let them, I guess that means desert, Yomim, right? And let them fall in the midst of his camp, all around his Mishkan, his family, right? So they ate and were completely satisfied, for he brought them what they desired. They had not turned away from their desire. So he gave them what they desired because they bugged him to death. But they never tried to crucify their self and stop asking for things that they weren't supposed to be asking for. Because that verse 30, he says, they did not turn away from their desire. Their food was still in their mouths when the wrath of Eluah came against them, and he slew among their fat ones, and he struck down the choice ones of Israel. In spite of all this, they still sinned and did not believe in his wonders. So he ended their yomim, their days, in a breath, and their years in trouble. When he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and did earnestly seek Eluah. And they remembered that Eluah was their rock, and the Most High Eluah their Redeemer. But they fattened him, no, but they flattered him with their mouth. In other words, they gave it lip service, but they really didn't love him, right? And they lied to him with their tongue, for their heart was not steadfast with him, and they were not true to his covenant. But he, the compassionate one, pro pardoned crookedness and did not destroy them. And many a time he turned his displeasure away and did not stir up all his wrath, for his for he remembered that they were but flesh, a passing breath that does not return. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness and grieved him in the desert. And again they tried Eluah and provoked the set apart one of Israel. They did not remember his hand, the yom, or the day when he redeemed them from the enemy, how he worked his signs in Egypt or Mitzrayim, and his wonders in the field of Zor. No, Zon. I think it's supposed to be Zion, but they got Tsoan, like Zon. He turned his he turned their rivers into blood, and they could not drink their streams. He sent among them swarms of flies, which destroyed them, and frogs, which destroyed them, and gave their crops to the caterpillar, and their labor to the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost, and gave their beast over to the hail, and their livestock to bolts of to bolts of fire, like lightning. He sent on he sent on them the burning of his displeasure, wrath and rage and distress, a band of messengers of destructions. Yeah, it has S on it. He made a path for his displeasure. He did not spare their being from death, but gave their life over to the plague, and he smote all the firstborn of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, the first fruit of strength in the tents of Ham. Then made his own people to go through like sheep, and led them in the wilderness like a flock. And he led them on safely, and they did not fear. But the sea covered their enemies, and he brought them to the border of his set apart place, this mountain which he which his right hand had gained, and drove out the nations before them, and allotted them a measure inheritance, and made the tribes of Israel dwell in their tents. Yet they tried and rebelled against the Most High Eloah, and did not guard his witnesses, but they turned back and acted treacherously like their fathers. They twisted like a treacherous bow, for they enraged him with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their carved images. When Eloah heard this, he was angry and greatly despised Israel, and he left the Mishkan of Shiloh, the tent which he had set up among men, and he gave his strength into captivity, and his comeliness into the hands of the adversary, and he gave his people over to the sword, and he was angry with his inheritance. His young men were consumed by fire, and his maidens were not praised. His priests fell by the sword, and their widows could not weep. Then Yahuwah awoke as one asleep, as a mighty man who shouts because of wine. And he smote his adversaries backward, and he put them to an everlasting reproach, and did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Yehudah, Mount Zion, which he loved. And he built his set apart place like the heights, like the arets of the earth. He founded it forever, and he chose David or Daoud, his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. He brought him in from tending the ewes to shepherd Jacob his people and Israel his inheritance. And he shepherded them according to the into the integrity of his heart, and led them by the skill of his hand. Okay, y'all asked about the book that I'm reading. That is the Bible, Psalms or Tehillim, um, 78. And God got on to me that these these lives are to be more serious. This is His word, and it, so if you, I already did a short live to tell you what God said. You can go back and look at it, but um we're going to be a little more serious and a little more respectful of the word of God from now on.